Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive alien ships blocking their path to Kepler 442b. The planet hung in space like a blue and green jewel, exactly what the survey reports had promised. Perfect for human settlement. Perfect for the 50,000 colonists sleeping in the cargo holds of his ship, the New Horizon. But the aliens had arrived first. "How many ships are we looking at?" Jake asked his navigation officer, Lieutenant Carl Davis. 47 vessels, Captain. All of them bigger than anything in our fleet." Carl's voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. "They're not responding to our standard greeting protocols." Jake rubbed his tired eyes. The journey from Earth had taken 18 months, even with their best faster-than-light engines. 18 months of careful planning, resource management, and hope. The colonists below had sold everything they owned for the chance to build new lives on this distant world. Farmers, engineers, teachers, doctors, all dreaming of wide-open spaces and fresh starts. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," reported Communications Officer Lisa Carter from her station. "It's coming through on multiple frequencies. Put it on the main screen." The view screen flickered to life, showing a creature that looked nothing like anything from Earth. It stood upright like a human, but its skin was pale green and covered in small scales. Its eyes were large and completely black. When it spoke, the words came through the ship's translation system in perfect English. "Human vessel. You are in violation of Galactic Preservation Zone 7 Alpha. You will reverse course immediately and return to your system of origin." Jake stood up from his captain's chair. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the colony ship New Horizon. We claim settlement rights to Kepler 442b under the Terran Colonial Charter. This system was unoccupied when our survey teams mapped it 5 years ago." The alien's expression did not change. "Human claims are not recognized by the Galactic Council. You have 72 hours to begin your departure. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your vessel." The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. "Captain," said Dr. Alex Rodriguez, the mission's chief scientist, "we need to talk to them. There has to be a way to work this out. We've come too far to just turn around." Jake nodded. "Lisa, open a channel to their lead ship." "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Morrison again. I request permission to speak with your commander about a peaceful solution. We have 50,000 civilians aboard this ship. They've invested everything in this colony mission." This time a different alien appeared on screen, taller than the first with more elaborate clothing that seemed to shift colors in the light. "I am High Arbiter Zex-9 of the Vegan Hegemony. You may transport aboard our vessel with 2 advisors. You have one of your hours." The transmission cut out again. Jake looked around the bridge. "Alex, Lisa, you're with me. Carl, you have the ship. If something goes wrong, get our people out of here." "Yes, sir." An hour later, Jake found himself standing in the transport room of the alien ship. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of living metal that pulsed with soft light. The air smelled like ozone and something floral he couldn't identify. High Arbiter Zex-9 was waiting for them, along with several other aliens of different species. Jake recognized what looked like reptilian beings, others that seemed almost plant-like, and creatures that appeared to be made of crystalline structures. "Captain Morrison," Zex-9 said, "you seem confused about your species' place in this galaxy." "Enlighten me," Jake replied. Zex-9 gestured, and a holographic display appeared showing the galaxy. Thousands of star systems were marked in different colors. The red zones indicate systems controlled by the Galactic Council. The blue zones are restricted for environmental preservation. The yellow zones are quarantined for dangerous phenomena. Jake studied the map. "Where are the human colonies?" "Here." Zex-9 pointed to a tiny cluster of green dots near one edge. "The Sol system and its immediate neighbors. Your designated area." "Designated by whom?" Lisa Carter stepped forward. "Humanity was never consulted about these boundaries." A new alien spoke up, this one resembling a large insect with multiple arms. "Your species was observed and evaluated. The decision was made for the good of galactic civilization." Dr. Rodriguez pulled out his tablet and showed them human star charts. "We have colonies in 17 systems, trading posts in 30 more. Millions of humans live beyond your green zone." "Not anymore," Zex-9 said simply. "The Galactic Preservation Accord was ratified 6 months ago. All aggressive species must withdraw to their assigned territories. You have 1 standard year to complete the evacuation of all human settlements beyond the Sol system." Jake felt the blood drain from his face. You're talking about abandoning the homes of 12 million people. The alternative is elimination. Zex-9's voice carried no emotion. 47 species signed the accord. Your species was not invited to participate, because your expansion pattern matches that of 17 previous civilizations that had to be contained. Contained how? Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. The insect-like alien answered. Most chose voluntary withdrawal. 3 required direct intervention. 2 were relocated to suitable worlds within their designated zones. 1, it paused. 1 refused all reasonable solutions. The implication hung in the air like a threat. Lisa Carter spoke up. What gives you the right to decide how other species live? Experience, said Zex-9. The galaxy is 400 billion years old. Civilizations rise and fall in predictable patterns. Aggressive expansion leads to resource conflicts, territorial wars, and eventual extinction. The Accord prevents this cycle. By preventing progress, Alex Rodriguez said angrily. By keeping younger species locked in cages. By maintaining stability, corrected the plant-like alien. Your species shows all the warning signs. Rapid expansion, resource exploitation, territorial aggression, and most concerning, adaptability. Jake blinked. Adaptability is concerning? Extremely, Zex-9 replied. Adaptable species are unpredictable. They find ways around established systems. They disrupt carefully maintained balances. The 17 extinct civilizations we mentioned all shared this trait. So you destroy species for being successful? Lisa's voice was rising. We preserve galactic peace. Zex-9 gestured again, and the holographic display changed to show ship movements throughout the galaxy. Observe. Controlled trade routes, managed resource distribution, regulated population growth. No wars in 3,000 years. No species extinctions in 5,000 years. This is the price of civilization. Jake stared at the display. It was beautiful in its complexity, but it looked more like a vast machine than a living galaxy. What about freedom? What about the right to choose your own path? Freedom to destroy yourselves and others is not a right we recognize, the insect alien said. Your evacuation begins now. Hegemony ships will assist in the transportation of your populations back to Earth. And if we refuse? Jake asked. Zex-9 touched a control, and the walls of the chamber became transparent. Outside, Jake could see the new horizon, looking tiny and fragile next to the massive alien vessels surrounding it. Your ship's weapons and engines have been remotely disabled, Zex-9 said. This is a demonstration of our technological superiority, not a threat. We prefer cooperation to conflict. Jake felt a crushing weight settle on his chest. 50,000 people sleeping peacefully in the holds of his ship, dreaming of new lives on a new world. Millions more humans scattered across the galaxy about to learn that their dreams of a spacefaring future were over. 72 hours, Zex-9 repeated. Use them wisely, Captain Morrison. The next thing Jake knew, he was back aboard the New Horizon with his 2 officers, watching the alien ships maintain their positions around the planet that should have been humanity's new home. What do we tell them? Lisa asked quietly, looking at the deck plans showing the locations of 50,000 sleeping colonists. Jake looked out at the stars, knowing that each point of light now represented a door being slammed in humanity's face. We tell them the truth, he said finally. We tell them we're going home. Commander Beth Williams stood at the observation deck of Luna Station, watching another convoy of refugee ships approach Earth. The massive vessels were packed with displaced colonists from the outer worlds, their cargo holds filled with whatever belongings people could carry when forced to abandon their homes forever. How many this week? Asked her assistant, Lieutenant Danny Cooper. 47 ships carrying about 200,000 people, Beth replied, checking her tablet. That brings our total to 8.3 million returned colonists so far. Danny whistled softly. Earth wasn't designed to handle this many people returning at once. Beth nodded grimly. It had been 11 months since Captain Morrison's encounter with the Vegan hegemony. 11 months of the largest evacuation in human history. Entire worlds that had taken decades to build were being abandoned in weeks. On the surface far below, refugee camps stretched as far as the eye could see. Every major continent had been forced to set up temporary cities to house the displaced populations. The lucky ones had family on Earth to stay with. The rest lived in prefabricated shelters that were supposed to be temporary, but were beginning to look permanent. Commander, called out Sergeant Amy Foster from the communication station. "We're getting a priority message from the New Kansas evacuation fleet. Put it through." The holographic display activated, showing Colonel Ryan Kelly aboard the military escort vessel Defender. Behind him, Beth could see the bridge crew working frantically at their stations. "Commander Williams, we have a situation. The hegemony fleet arrived early. They're demanding immediate evacuation of all human settlements on New Kansas, effective immediately." Beth felt her stomach drop. "How early?" 3 weeks ahead of schedule. "They're giving the colonists 48 hours to board the transport ships." "That's impossible," Danny said. "New Kansas has 500,000 people. The agricultural processing plants alone will take a week to shut down safely." Colonel Kelly's expression was grim. "I've tried explaining that to the alien commander. They said the Galactic Council has moved up the deadline for all human withdrawals. Something about accelerating the process for galactic security." Beth closed her eyes for a moment. New Kansas had been one of humanity's most successful agricultural colonies. 3 generations of families had turned that world from barren rock into fertile farmland. The grain produced there fed dozens of other human settlements. "What's the status of the civilian population?" she asked, panic mostly. "People are abandoning their homes, grabbing whatever they can carry. The transport ships are overloaded, but nobody wants to be left behind." Kelly paused. "Commander, these people built something beautiful here, and now they're watching it all get handed over to aliens who probably won't even use it." Beth understood. She had seen the reports from other abandoned colonies. The aliens typically moved in within days of human departure, but they rarely maintained the infrastructure humans had built. Cities that had housed millions became empty monuments to human dreams. "Are the aliens offering any assistance with the evacuation?" she asked. "They've provided some additional transport capacity, but it's clear they just want us gone. Their ships are efficient, but there's no warmth in it. They treat us like we're some kind of pest that needs to be relocated." The communication was interrupted by another incoming signal. This one came from Earth's surface, from President Helen Murphy's office. "Commander Williams, I need an immediate status report on all evacuation operations." Beth straightened. "Madam President, we're processing refugees as quickly as possible, but Earth's infrastructure is being pushed beyond its limits. We have over 8 million displaced colonists now, with 4 million more expected in the next 2 months." President Murphy looked exhausted. The past year had aged her considerably. "I know, Commander. I'm calling an emergency session of the World Council tomorrow. We need to discuss long-term housing solutions and economic integration for the returnees." "What about the outer colonies that haven't been evacuated yet?" Beth asked. "The aliens have accelerated the timeline. All human settlements must be abandoned within the next 4 months, not the full year they originally promised." The president paused. "They claim it's for our own safety. Apparently, some of the other galactic species are becoming impatient with the pace of our withdrawal." After the transmission ended, Beth walked back to the observation window. Another convoy was approaching, this one from the mining colonies in the Centauri system. Those had been some of the earliest human settlements beyond Earth, established over a century ago. "Commander," Amy Foster called out, "I'm getting reports from multiple evacuation sites. It's the same story everywhere. The aliens are moving up their schedules, and our people are struggling to keep up." Beth pulled up the evacuation status on her tablet. Colony after colony showed the same pattern. Frantic packing, overcrowded transport ships, families separated in the chaos, and behind them, empty worlds that had once been home to millions of humans. On New Kansas, farmer Maria Santos was loading the last of her family's possessions into a cargo container. Her grandfather had been one of the original settlers, breaking the hard soil with primitive equipment. Her father had built the first successful grain processing plant. She had planned to pass the farm down to her own children. "Mama, why can't we stay?" her 8-year-old daughter asked. Maria didn't know how to explain it. How do you tell a child that other species in the galaxy had decided humans weren't allowed to live among the stars anymore? "Because the people who live in space said we have to go back to Earth," she said finally. "But this is our home." "I know, baby. I know." Around them, other families were having similar conversations. Children who had never seen Earth were being told they would spend the rest of their lives there. Adults who had spent decades building communities were watching their life's work become meaningless. The alien ships in orbit waited patiently. They were not cruel, the hegemony forces. They provided assistance when asked, offered medical aid when needed, and never threatened violence. but their presence was a constant reminder that humanity no longer controlled its own destiny among the stars. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Miller was aboard one of the evacuation transports, helping coordinate the movement of civilians. He had been a career military officer, trained to defend human colonies from any threat. But how do you defend against an enemy that doesn't attack, just forces you to leave? "Colonel," one of his sergeants reported, "we've got all the civilians from Sector 7 loaded up. That's the last of them from the agricultural zones." Frank looked out the transport window at the farms below. Fields of golden grain stretched to the horizon, ready for harvest. But there would be no harvest this year. The crops would rot in the fields while the alien ships waited overhead. "Any word on what the hegemony plans to do with the colony after we leave?" the sergeant asked. "Intelligence says they'll probably turn it over to one of their client species, someone more suitable for agricultural development." Frank's voice was bitter. The worst part was the efficiency of it all. The aliens had clearly done this before. They had protocols for everything: processing refugees, cataloging abandoned infrastructure, even procedures for dealing with human emotional distress during the evacuation process. Dr. Sam Turner, Earth's leading expert on alien cultures, was studying the evacuation process from his office in Geneva. What he was learning disturbed him deeply. The Galactic Council had files on humanity dating back over 2 centuries. They had been watching human expansion, studying human behavior, preparing for this moment. They knew, he told his research team. They knew exactly how we would react, how long it would take, what problems we would face. This isn't their first forced relocation. His assistant, Dr. Kate Nelson, looked up from her analysis of alien communication intercepts. The translation algorithms are getting better at picking up nuances in their language. When they talk about the human problem, they use the same terms they've applied to 16 other species over the past few thousand years. What happened to those other species? Kate's face was pale. According to their records, 15 of them accepted relocation to designated worlds. They're still alive but contained within their assigned systems. One species refused, and there's no record of what happened to them. They just disappear from the galactic databases about 3,000 years ago. The implications were clear. Humanity could accept their cage, or they could face whatever fate had befallen the species that had refused to be contained. Back on Luna Station, Commander Beth Williams received the final evacuation reports. 12 million humans displaced, 47 colonies abandoned. Hundreds of worlds that had been home to human families for generations now stood empty, waiting for new occupants chosen by alien bureaucrats. As she watched the last convoy of refugee ships dock at Earth's orbital stations, Beth wondered what kind of future humanity would have in their enforced prison. Earth was overcrowded, resources were strained, and millions of people were struggling to adapt to a world many had never seen before. The stars that had once promised infinite possibilities now looked cold and distant. Humanity had been cast out, and there seemed to be no way back home to the galaxy that had rejected them. 5 years had passed since the last human colony ship returned to Earth. Captain Ryan Kelly floated in the observation pod of Orbital Defense Platform 7, watching alien cargo vessels approach Earth's atmosphere. The ships came every month now, carrying what the Vegan hegemony called humanitarian assistance. Another delivery of basic supplies, reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Tony Price. Food processors, water purification units, and medical equipment. Ryan watched the sleek alien vessels dock with Earth's orbital stations. The supplies were genuinely helpful. Earth's infrastructure was still struggling to support the 12 million returned colonists. But every delivery felt like charity from a superior species to their primitive cousins. "Any word from the surface about the integration programs?" Ryan asked. "The reports aren't good, sir. New Detroit is overcrowded again. They're having to expand the refugee housing for the 3rd time this year." New Detroit. The name still made Ryan angry. It wasn't really a city. It was a massive camp built to house displaced colonists who had nowhere else to go. Prefabricated buildings stretched for miles, housing families who had once owned farms on distant worlds or managed mining operations on alien moons. Down on Earth's surface, social worker Maria Santos walked through the narrow streets between the housing blocks. She had been a farmer on New Kansas, but now she spent her days helping other displaced people adjust to life on an overcrowded planet. Mrs. Chen, she called to an elderly woman sitting on a bench outside one of the housing units. How are you feeling today? Mrs. Chen looked up with tired eyes. My grandson asks me every day when we can go home to Kepler Station. I don't know what to tell him anymore. Maria sat down beside her. This was the hardest part of her job, helping people accept that their old lives were gone forever. Mrs. Chen's family had run a successful trading post for 30 years before the evacuation. Now her grandson was just another displaced child in an overcrowded school system. The adjustment counselors say it gets easier with time, Maria offered. Does it? Mrs. Chen asked. Do you feel better about losing your farm? Maria was quiet for a moment. The truth was, she still dreamed about her fields of grain waving in the alien wind. She still woke up sometimes expecting to see the double sunrise of New Kansas through her bedroom window. Some days are better than others, she admitted. Across the city, Dr. Frank Miller was reviewing the latest statistics in his office at the Global Refugee Integration Center. The numbers painted a grim picture of humanity's future. Birth rates have dropped 40% since the evacuation began, he told his assistant, Dr. Laura Thompson. Couples are choosing not to have children. Can you blame them? Laura replied, looking at her tablet. What kind of future can they offer their kids? A life trapped on one overcrowded planet? Frank nodded grimly. It's not just the birth rates. Suicide rates among former colonists are triple the global average. Depression, anxiety, and substance abuse are all climbing. What about the employment programs? Limited success. We have thousands of experts in terraforming, asteroid mining, and space agriculture. Those skills are useless on Earth. Most of them are working in basic manufacturing or service jobs now. Laura pulled up another report. The psychological evaluation teams are seeing a pattern they're calling reverse culture shock. People who spent their whole lives thinking of themselves as pioneers and explorers suddenly feel like prisoners. The irony wasn't lost on Frank. Humanity had spent centuries reaching for the stars, developing technologies and social systems designed for expansion and growth. Now all of that progress felt meaningless. In Geneva, the Vegan hegemony had established their embassy in a gleaming tower that seemed to grow from the ground like a living crystal. Ambassador Cree 7 hosted weekly cultural exchange programs, inviting human academics and officials to learn about galactic civilization. Professor Pete Harrison attended these sessions regularly, though they left him feeling more frustrated each time. Today's topic was sustainable civilization development, essentially a lecture on why humanity's expansion had been dangerous. Your species shows remarkable adaptability, Cree 7 was saying to the assembled human audience. This is both a strength and a weakness. Adaptable species often consume resources faster than they can be replenished. A human economist raised her hand. But our colony worlds were self-sufficient. We weren't depleting anything. Self-sufficiency is an illusion, replied the ambassador. Your colonies required constant supply lines, technological support, and population transfers from Earth. This creates expansion pressure that eventually leads to conflict with other species. Professor Harrison spoke up. What about cooperation? Humanity tried to establish trade relationships with dozens of alien species. Trade relationships that would have grown into economic dependencies, Cree 7 said smoothly. Your species' business practices show clear signs of eventual dominance behavior. Better to contain the problem before it develops. After the session, Professor Harrison walked back to his hotel feeling sick. The aliens spoke about humanity like they were discussing the management of a dangerous animal population. Every human achievement was reframed as a warning sign of future aggression. But Professor Harrison wasn't just an academic. He was also General Pete Harrison, director of a classified military research program hidden deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The program was called Operation Prometheus, and its goal was to find a way to level the technological playing field with the aliens. Any progress on the propulsion systems? He asked Dr. Kate Nelson, the project's lead scientist, during their weekly briefing. We've made some breakthroughs in quantum engineering, Kate replied, but we're still decades behind alien technology. Their faster-than-light drives use exotic matter that we don't know how to produce. What about weapons? Same problem. Our most advanced plasma cannons are like throwing rocks at their energy shields. Kate paused, looking frustrated. General, I have to be honest. With our current understanding of physics, we can't compete with them militarily. General Harrison nodded. He had expected as much, but it was still disappointing to hear. What other options do we have? Well, there is something interesting, Kate said, pulling up a holographic display. We've been analyzing the exotic matter residue from alien ship emissions. The quantum signatures suggest that this material might occur naturally in certain celestial environments, such as planetary cores with specific magnetic field configurations, gas giants with unusual atmospheric compositions, and... Kate hesitated. And what? And certain lunar formations. General, I think Earth's moon might contain traces of the same exotic matter that powers alien technology. General Harrison stared at the data. If Kate was right, humanity might have been living next to the key to galactic technology for thousands of years without knowing it. How much would we need to extract to make a difference? That depends on what we want to achieve. A few kilograms might be enough to build experimental drives. Tons of it could revolutionize our entire technological base. What are the risks? Kate's expression grew serious. Exotic matter is incredibly dangerous to work with. The radiation alone could kill anyone who gets too close without proper shielding. And if the aliens detect mining operations on the moon... She didn't need to finish the sentence. If the hegemony discovered that humanity was trying to access advanced technology, the consequences could be severe. Back in New Detroit, Maria Santos was putting her own grandson to bed in their small apartment. The boy was 7 now, too young to really remember New Kansas, but old enough to sense that the adults around him were sad all the time. "Grandma Maria," he said, "why don't we live in the big houses like in the pictures?" Maria looked at the tablet displaying images from before the evacuation. Sprawling farmhouses under alien skies, children playing in fields that stretched to the horizon. Those houses were very far away, she said carefully, too far for us to live there anymore. Will we ever get to see the stars up close again? Maria looked out the small window of their apartment. Earth's moon was visible tonight, bright and full. Somewhere up there, alien ships continued their patient watch over humanity's prison. "I don't know, sweetheart," she whispered. "I really don't know." But deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Kate Nelson was staring at her computer screens with growing excitement. The latest analysis confirmed it. The moon wasn't just hiding exotic matter. It was practically made of the stuff. For the first time in 5 years, she allowed herself to feel something that had become almost foreign to humanity. Hope. Dr. Kate Nelson stood in the underground laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, staring at the small sample of exotic matter that glowed with an inner blue light. The material had been extracted from the moon's core 3 months ago, and it was unlike anything humanity had ever worked with before. "The energy output is incredible," she told General Pete Harrison. "This single gram contains more power than our largest fusion reactor. And according to our analysis, the moon has enough of this material to fuel human civilization for 1,000 years. General Harrison studied the glowing sample through the reinforced glass containment unit. "What about the radiation exposure?" "We've lost 6 miners so far," Kate admitted quietly. "The exotic matter is deadly to work with, even with our best protective equipment. But the volunteers keep signing up. They know what this could mean for humanity's future." On the moon's far side, hidden from Earth and alien observation, Commander Tony Price supervised the secret mining operation. The work was dangerous beyond anything humanity had attempted before. The exotic matter existed in veins deep within the lunar core, requiring precision drilling through solid rock while avoiding detection by alien monitoring systems. "How much did we extract this week?" he asked his team leader, Engineer Ben Wright. 14 kilograms, Ben replied, checking his tablet. "But we lost another drill team to radiation poisoning. The stuff is incredibly concentrated down there." Tony looked out through the mining station's reinforced windows at the lunar surface. Earth hung in the black sky like a blue marble, beautiful but somehow small from this distance. Somewhere in orbit around that world, alien ships continued their patient watch over humanity's prison. "Any sign that the hegemony knows what we're doing?" "None so far. Their sensor sweeps past right over us. Whatever this exotic matter is, it seems to interfere with their detection equipment when it's in raw form." Back on Earth, Engineer Laura Thompson was working 18-hour days in her laboratory, trying to understand how to process the exotic matter into useful technology. Her team had reverse-engineered several pieces of alien equipment captured during the evacuation, but making them work with human-processed materials was proving incredibly difficult. "The molecular structure keeps breaking down," she explained to her assistant, Dr. Carl Davis. Every time we try to refine the exotic matter using conventional methods, it becomes unstable. What if we're approaching this wrong? Carl suggested. What if human manufacturing techniques aren't inferior to alien methods, just different? Laura paused in her work. What do you mean? Think about it. Humans developed industry through centuries of trial and error, finding ways to work with difficult materials using brute force and creativity. The aliens have had stable technology for thousands of years. Maybe they've forgotten how to innovate. Laura looked at the failed experiments cluttering her lab bench. You think we should try cruder methods? I think we should try human methods. 3 weeks later, Laura made the breakthrough that would change everything. Instead of trying to refine the exotic matter to alien standards, she processed it using modified human industrial techniques. The result was a material that looked different from anything the aliens produced, but it worked even better. The efficiency ratings are off the charts, she told General Harrison excitedly. Human-processed exotic matter can generate faster than light fields that are 30% more powerful than anything we've seen from alien technology. How is that possible? I think it's because of how we manufacture things, Laura explained. Human industry is messy, chaotic, adaptive. We're used to working with imperfect materials and making them do things they weren't designed for. The aliens have perfect technology, but it's also inflexible. General Harrison felt a surge of hope for the first time in years. What can we build with this? Starships, Laura said simply. Faster, more efficient starships than anything the aliens have. But humanity's secret project was about to get an unexpected ally. Deep in hegemony space, a mid-level administrator named Zara 3 was reviewing reports about the Human Containment Project. What she was reading troubled her deeply. Zara 3 belonged to a species called the Keth, one of the younger races in the Galactic community. Her people had joined the hegemony only 2 centuries ago, and many Keth still remembered what it was like to be independent explorers rather than junior members of an ancient bureaucracy. The reports about human adaptability and innovation reminded her of her own species' history. The Keth had also been rapid expanders, quick to adapt to new environments and eager to explore unknown regions of space. But unlike humanity, they had been offered membership in the galactic community rather than forced containment. The humans are more similar to us than I thought, she told her assistant. Dex 12 during a private meeting in her office. In what way? Their industrial capacity, their adaptability, their refusal to accept limitations. Zara 3 pulled up classified files on her screen. Look at this. Even under containment, human productivity has increased by 20%. They're building things faster and more efficiently than before the evacuation. That seems like a problem for galactic stability, Dex 12 said carefully. Or an opportunity for progress, Zara 3 replied. When was the last time any species in the galaxy invented something genuinely new? We've been using the same technologies for thousands of years because the elder races prefer stability to innovation. She made a decision that would have seemed impossible a year earlier. Using encrypted communication channels, Zara 3 reached out to the human resistance. Colonel Amy Foster was working late in her office at Earth's military headquarters when the impossible happened. Her secure terminal received a message from an alien source, transmitted through channels that shouldn't have existed. I am Zara 3 of the Keth administration, the message read. I believe our species share common interests regarding galactic policy. Would you be willing to discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement? Amy stared at the message for several minutes before forwarding it to General Harrison. Within hours, a secret meeting was arranged through quantum encrypted channels that the hegemony couldn't monitor. Why are you willing to help us? General Harrison asked during their first communication. Because the galaxy is stagnating, Zara 3 replied. The elder races have created a system where nothing changes, nothing grows, nothing improves. Your species represents something that's been missing from galactic civilization for millennia, genuine innovation. What can you tell us about hegemony operations? More than you might expect. The galactic community isn't as unified as we pretend to be. Many younger species are frustrated with the restrictions placed on exploration and development. The elder races maintain control by preventing any significant technological advancement. Over the following months, Zara 3 provided crucial intelligence about hegemony ship movements, monitoring protocols, and most importantly, the locations of other species that might be sympathetic to change. There are 17 species in the galaxy, that have expressed private concerns about the containment policy, she reported. During one of their meetings, not all of them are ready for open rebellion, but they might support quieter forms of resistance. Meanwhile, Dr. Kate Nelson's team made another crucial discovery. The quantum signatures of human-processed exotic matter were completely unique, creating energy patterns that alien sensors couldn't detect or track. It's like we're speaking a different language, she explained to the research team. Alien technology is designed to detect and analyze exotic matter processed using their methods. But our chaotic, improvised techniques create something entirely new. What does that mean practically? Asked Dr. Sam Turner. It means we can build ships that are invisible to their sensors, faster than light drives that they can't track, weapons they can't predict. Kate's voice was filled with quiet excitement. It means we can move through the galaxy without them knowing we're there. General Harrison called an emergency meeting of the project leadership. How long before we can build our first stealth starship? 6 months for a prototype, Laura Thompson replied. But we'll need more exotic matter, more volunteers willing to risk the mining operations, and absolute secrecy. You'll have whatever you need, Harrison promised. As the meeting ended, Dr. Kate Nelson looked around the room at the faces of her colleagues. For the first time since the Great Evacuation, she saw something she had almost forgotten. Determination mixed with hope. Humanity had been cast out from the stars, but they were learning that exile could also be opportunity, hidden in the darkness between worlds. They were becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. The question was whether they could complete their transformation before the aliens discovered what they were doing. Captain Ava Clark felt her heart racing as the stealth ship Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Kepler 186f. This was the moment they had all been working toward for 2 years. The first secret human colony mission since the Great Evacuation. Scanning for alien presence, reported her navigation officer, Lieutenant Jack Turner. All clear, Captain, he said after several tense minutes. No hegemony ships detected in the system. Ava allowed herself a small smile. The stealth technology was working perfectly. Their human-processed exotic matter drive had carried them across 200 light-years without creating any energy signature that alien sensors could detect. Begin orbital survey, she ordered. Let's find our new home. Kepler 186f hung in space below them, a blue and green world that looked remarkably similar to Earth. But unlike Earth, this planet had room for millions of people to spread out, build cities, and create something new. Surface conditions are perfect, reported Dr. Sophie Hayes, the mission's chief scientist. Breathable atmosphere, moderate climate, no dangerous life forms detected. Within hours, the first transport shuttles were descending to the planet's surface. Administrator Carl Davis stepped onto alien soil and felt something he hadn't experienced in 7 years. The freedom to build a human settlement without asking anyone's permission. Start with the basic infrastructure, he told his team. Power generators, communication arrays, and temporary shelters. We need to be fully operational before the next convoy arrives. The colonists worked with an energy that surprised even themselves. These were people who had spent years feeling useless on an overcrowded Earth. Their skills in terraforming and space construction rendered meaningless. Now they were doing what humans did best, adapting to a new world and making it their own. Back on Earth, Director Ellen Roberts coordinated the secret expansion from a hidden command center beneath Luna Station. On her screens, she could see the status of dozens of similar missions launching from concealed bases throughout the solar system. New Haven Colony is established and operational, reported Colonel Ryan Kelly. They're requesting the next supply convoy. Approved. What about the Proxima settlement? Construction is ahead of schedule. They'll be ready to receive families next month. Ellen looked at the galaxy map on her main screen. Red dots marked the locations of new human colonies, all hidden from alien detection by their unique stealth technology. It was a secret empire growing in the spaces between the official galactic borders. Any sign that the hegemony suspects what we're doing? She asked. None so far, replied Intelligence Officer Maria Santos, who had transitioned from refugee social work to strategic planning. Our alien contacts report normal patrol patterns. They seem to believe we're still contained to Earth. The secret had been kept by millions of people across dozens of worlds. Former colonists who had lost everything were now rebuilding their lives in hidden settlements scattered across the galaxy. Engineers who had been unemployed on Earth were designing cities on distant planets. Farmers who had been forced to abandon their fields were planting crops under alien suns. On the hidden world of New Haven, the colonists were making remarkable progress. The planet's rich soil responded well to Earth crops, and the longer growing season meant they could harvest food faster than any previous human colony. Will be self-sufficient within 6 months, reported agriculturally Director Danny Cooper to Administrator Carl Davis. The climate here is actually better for farming than most of our original colonies. But the most important development was happening. In the colony's research laboratories, Dr. Kate Nelson had established a new facility where teams of scientists worked to understand and improve their stealth technology. We're not just copying what we learned on Earth, she explained to Carl during a facility tour. We're innovating, developing new applications for the exotic matter technology, such as improved communication systems that can't be intercepted, mining equipment that works 10 times faster than anything we had before, and we're working on something really special, a transportation network that could connect all our hidden colonies instantly. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Engineer Laura Thompson, now working at the research facility, discovered that human-processed exotic matter could create stable wormholes between distant locations. It's like building a subway system across the galaxy, she explained excitedly to the research team. We could move people and supplies between colonies in minutes instead of months. The first test was conducted between New Haven and another secret colony called Freedom Station. The results exceeded all expectations. A small probe sent through the wormhole arrived instantly, completely undetected by any alien monitoring systems, but humanity's secret expansion was about to face its biggest challenge yet. Commander Jack Turner was leading a routine supply run to one of the newer colonies when his ship's sensors detected something unexpected. A hegemony patrol fleet conducting an unscheduled inspection of the system. Captain, his communications officer reported, the alien ships are heading directly toward Colony 7's location. Jack felt his blood run cold. Colony 7 housed 50,000 people, including families with young children. If the hegemony discovered them, the consequences could be devastating. How long before they reached the colony? 4 hours, sir. Jack made the hardest decision of his career. Signal Colony 7. Tell them to implement immediate evacuation protocol. Within minutes, the entire colony was in motion. Using their quantum transportation technology, the colonists began evacuating through portable wormhole generators to other hidden settlements. 50,000 people and all their critical equipment vanished from the planet's surface in less than 2 hours. When the hegemony patrol arrived, they found an empty world with no trace of human habitation. The incident was reported to High Arbiter Zex-9, who found the sensor readings puzzling. His ships had detected faint energy signatures consistent with faster-than-light travel, but there was no evidence that any vessels had been in the system. Run a detailed analysis of the quantum signatures, he ordered his science officer. The results were disturbing. The energy patterns were unlike anything in the hegemony's database. Whatever had created them was using technology that didn't match any known galactic civilization. Could it be a new species? The science officer suggested. Possible, Zex-9 replied. Or it could be an old species using new methods. Meanwhile, Zara-3 was monitoring hegemony communications and growing increasingly worried. The elder races were beginning to suspect that something unusual was happening in the outer regions of the galaxy. Their increasing patrol frequencies. She warned Director Ellen Roberts during one of their encrypted communications, and they're sharing sensor data between species that haven't cooperated in centuries. How much time do we have? Ellen asked. Not much. If they connect the pattern of anomalous readings to human activity, they'll start actively searching for your colonies. Ellen made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. It's time to reveal ourselves. What do you mean? We've been hiding for 2 years, building strength in secret. But hiding forever isn't victory. It's just a different kind of prison. Ellen called an emergency meeting of all colony administrators and military commanders. Using their quantum communication network, leaders from dozens of hidden worlds joined the discussion simultaneously. The time for secrecy is over, she announced. We've proven that humanity can't be contained. Now we need to prove that we don't want to be conquerors either. Admiral Jake Morrison, now commanding the secret fleet, spoke up. What are you proposing? We reveal our colonies to the galaxy. All of them. At the same time. And we make an offer they can't refuse. What kind of offer? Ellen smiled for the first time in years. We give them our transportation technology. Free access to instant travel between any points in the galaxy, in exchange for recognition of our right to exist among the stars. Dr. Kate Nelson understood immediately. The wormhole network. If we share it with all galactic species, it changes everything. No more trade monopolies, no more isolated systems, no more barriers to cooperation. The elder races won't like losing their control over galactic commerce, warned Colonel Amy Foster. Which is why we're not asking for their permission, Ellen replied. We're offering something so valuable that the younger species will demand access to it, regardless of what the elders want. 3 days later, Ellen Roberts addressed not just Earth, but all of humanity's hidden colonies simultaneously. Her speech was broadcast on every frequency known to galactic civilization. People of the galaxy, she began, humanity has returned to the stars. We were cast out, but we have found our way home, and we bring gifts. Across dozens of worlds, human colonies revealed themselves. The galaxy watched in amazement as an entire civilization materialized from the darkness between stars. We offer you the freedom of instant travel, Ellen continued. No more barriers, no more restrictions, no more borders that cannot be crossed. The galaxy belongs to all who dare to explore it. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Species that had been isolated for millennia suddenly had access to instant transportation. Young civilizations that had been restricted to their home systems could now explore the entire galaxy,